the jam with the lovely Aaliyah. What's going on, Aaliyah?
What's up? How you doing? I'm
It's
good.
been a minute.
It's been a while. Sure has been a while.
Mary J. I loved her first album, and I know her second one just dropped, and from what I heard, I know I'm gonna like that one too, so Mary J definitely.
The whispers were always there, simmering under the surface, barely audible above the roar of the music and the glitz of the flashing cameras. For years, the entertainment industry has been cloaked in rumors about what really happens behind the velvet ropes of exclusive parties thrown by some of its most powerful figures. But now, the veil has been ripped away, exposing a darkness that even the most loyal fans can't ignore. At the center of this storm stands Sean Diddy Combs, embroiled in allegations, lawsuits, and scandal that threaten to dismantle his empire. And standing right beside him, whether he likes it or not, is Jay-Z, a man who has spent decades building an image of untouchable power and prestige. Yet, as the walls close in, the cracks in his fortress are starting to show.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling.
The internet is ablaze with speculation. Leaked photos, resurfaced court filings, and cryptic accusations are painting a picture far more sinister than anyone might have imagined. One image in particular has reignited a firestorm, the now infamous photo from Diddy's July 4th party in the Hamptons, circa 2000. In the grainy frame, Diddy is flanked by a young Jennifer Lopez, the late Aaliyah, and yes, Jay-Z's himself. The image, once dismissed as a nostalgic snapshot of hip-hop royalty, has taken on a far more ominous tone, with the allegations against Diddy piling up. Every face in that photo is being scrutinized. What were they doing there? What did they know? And more importantly, what are they hiding?
In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree?"
Jay-Z's silence has been deafening. A man who has never shied away from a microphone or a headline has chosen to stay in the shadows as the storm rages on. But his name keeps coming up, woven into the fabric of allegations that stretch back decades. One of the most unsettling claims comes from a lawsuit filed in late 2024. The plaintiff, identified only as Jane Doe, alleged that she was brought to an exclusive after-party in 2000, just after the MTV Video Music Awards. She was 13 years old at the time. The lawsuit described a night of coercion and betrayal with details that were both horrifying and specific. Jane Doe claimed she was made to sign a non-disclosure agreement at the door before being given a drink that left her feeling lightheaded and disoriented. She alleged that both Diddy and Jay-Z were present and complicit in what followed. While Jay-Z's legal team slammed the lawsuit as a baseless money grab and pointed out inconsistencies in her story, the damage to his reputation was immediate and lasting.
Why would any testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement if there wasn't foul play?
Now, mind you, September 11th happened a week later. 9/11 happened a week later. Do you think that took away from it?
Once again.
And it doesn't stop there. Insiders are now pointing to a culture of secrecy that surrounded Diddy's infamous parties, where phones were confiscated, NDAs were mandatory, and the rules of normal society seemed to dissolve. A resurfaced video of Diddy collecting phones from guests before one such gathering has only added fuel to the fire. In the clip, Diddy is calm, almost casual, as he ensures that no evidence of the night's events could leak out. It's a chilling reminder of how controlled these environments were and how little the public truly knows about what went on behind those closed doors. Jay-Z, a frequent guest at these events, is now being dragged into the narrative, with people questioning whether his silence is a shield or a confession. 50 Cent, never one to miss an opportunity to stir the pot, has been relentless in his attacks on both Diddy and Jay-Z. His social media accounts have become a running commentary on the scandal, with posts that are equal parts mockery and accusation. He's called out Jay-Z for abandoning Diddy in his time of need, pointing to their long history of collaboration and friendship. One post, in particular, gained traction. A doctored image of Jay-Z's face on a milk carton, captioned with a jab about how he's suddenly gone missing now that the heat is on. It's petty, sure, but it's also reflective of a growing sentiment. Jay-Z's silence isn't just strategic, it's suspicious.
And when you see, there's no artist, let me be clear, there's no artist in this industry that's doing major numbers with these platforms that haven't sold their soul.
And then there are the conspiracy theories. TikTok, ever the incubator for wild speculation, has been flooded with videos connecting the dots between Diddy, Jay-Z, and a string of suspicious events. One theory in particular has taken on a life of its own, linking the duo to the untimely demises of Aaliyah, Lisa Lopes, and Michael Jackson. The theorists point to eerie coincidences like the fact that all three artists passed away on the 25th of different months, and cryptic lyrics from J. Cole's song She Knows, which some interpret as a veiled reference to Jay-Z's and Beyonce's alleged knowledge of these events. While there's no concrete evidence to support these claims, the sheer volume of speculation has made it impossible to ignore.
So why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Even Beyonce, whose public image has long been untouchable, hasn't escaped the fallout. Her close friendship with Diddy is now being re-examined under a harsh spotlight, with critics questioning whether she turned a blind eye to the darker aspects of his behavior. Jaguar Wright, a former industry insider, has been particularly vocal, claiming to know multiple individuals who are willing to testify against both Jay-Z and Beyonce. Wright has described the couple as a nasty little duo and has implied that their hands are far from clean. Her comments have only added to the growing sense of unease surrounding the Carters, casting a shadow over their once sterling reputation. But the most damning revelations are still to come. Court documents from Diddy's ongoing legal battles have painted a picture of a man who wielded his power and influence like a weapon, creating an environment where anything and anyone could be bought, silenced, or destroyed. And while Jay-Z has not been formally implicated in Diddy's alleged crimes, his proximity to the scandal is impossible to ignore. The two men came up together, built their empire side by side, and shared a vision of success that blurred the lines between business and brotherhood. Now, that shared history is being weaponized against them, with critics questioning how much Jay-Z knew and how much he chose to ignore.
The feds, Al Capone style, have not charged everything under the sun. They've charged three main charges: racketeering, sex trafficking, and the transport of a... And I'll tell you, I don't know about the racketeering charge. It's pretty sweeping. And I'll tell you what the general elements are.
The entertainment industry is holding its breath, waiting to see who will be the next to fall. Every day brings new revelations, new lawsuits, new names dragged into the fray. It's not just about Diddy or Jay-Z anymore. It's about the culture of silence that allowed this alleged behavior to go unchecked for so long. It's about the power dynamics that protect the rich and famous, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. And it's about a reckoning that feels inevitable, no matter how many lawyers or PR teams try to stop it.
This was a troubling allegation because, first off, there were inconsistencies with her story, and it was a very serious allegation. And for instance, she said that her father picked her up from Rochester, New York to New York City, 5-hour drive, and then drove her home that night. But the father did not remember any of it. That's something you would definitely remember. And she also said there were other celebrities she spoke to at the party. Those celebrities were not even there at the party.
The clock is ticking and the stakes couldn't be higher for Diddy, for Jay-Z, for everyone who ever attended one of those parties or worked within their inner circle. The question isn't just who will go down, it's how deep this rabbit hole goes. And as the trial looms, one thing is clear: the story is far from over.
To the evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right? More than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right? In addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right? That she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her in distress.
But the true fallout of this scandal isn't just about the names being dragged into the spotlight. It's about the entire system that allowed it to thrive. This isn't just a story of individual misconduct. It's a tangled web of power, complicity, and silence that stretches across decades and spans every corner of the entertainment industry. The allegations against Diddy and the growing scrutiny around Jay-Z have become symbols of something much bigger, an industry built on unchecked influence, where money and fame became shields against accountability, and where the powerful operated with impunity while everyone else looked the other way. Take the NDAs, for example. These contracts, designed to protect privacy, have long been used as weapons to silence victims and witnesses. Insiders have described how NDAs were handed out like party favors at Diddy's events, ensuring that no one could speak openly about what they saw or experienced. These agreements weren't just legal documents. They were tools of control, creating an invisible barrier between the truth and the outside world. Victims who wanted to come forward were faced with the threat of financial ruin, while those who dared to speak out anyway were dismissed as opportunists or liars. It's a chilling reminder of how the system is designed to protect the powerful, not the vulnerable.
And now to some new developments tonight on the civil lawsuit accusing rappers Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of rape. The accuser has now dropped the case.
But the NDAs were just one piece of a much larger machine. Reports have surfaced about a network of enforcers, security teams, legal advisors, and even public relations experts, all working to ensure that anything damaging was buried before it could ever reach the public eye. These enforcers weren't just protecting Diddy, they were protecting the industry itself. One former employee described how they were instructed to intercept guests at parties who seemed too nosy or too talkative. Another source claimed that private investigators were routinely hired to gather dirt on potential whistleblowers, ensuring they'd think twice before speaking out. If someone posed a threat, they were either paid off or intimidated into silence. The lengths to which this network went to maintain control are staggering, and they show just how deeply the rot runs.
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual about whom I wish to hear nothing after this trial is done.
This system of suppression didn't just silence victims. It also created an environment where abuse could thrive unchecked. According to insiders, the power dynamics at these events were impossible to ignore. Guests were carefully curated, with young, vulnerable newcomers often invited alongside seasoned industry veterans who knew better than to question what they saw. The hierarchy was clear. Those at the top had free reign, while those at the bottom were expected to comply, or risk being blacklisted. One attendee described feeling like they were walking into a lion's den, unsure of who could be trusted or how far the night might go. It wasn't just about the parties. It was about a culture that normalized exploitation under the guise of glamour and exclusivity. And then there's the role of the media. For years, entertainment journalists and gossip columnists covered these events with breathless excitement, framing them as the epitome of luxury and success. But behind the scenes, some reporters were reportedly given incentives to keep certain details out of their stories. One former journalist has alleged that they were offered exclusive interviews and backstage access in exchange for staying silent about what they witnessed at these gatherings. Others claimed that their editors shut down stories that could jeopardize relationships with powerful labels or executives. The media wasn't just complicit, it was an active participant in maintaining the facade. The question now is whether those same outlets will finally start holding the industry accountable, or if they'll continue to protect the very people who created this toxic environment.
And that, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors. And if true, right, you could pursue it criminally.
And then there's the role of celebrity culture itself. For years, figures like Diddy and Jay-Z were celebrated not just for their music, but for their larger-than-life personas. They were the kings of hip-hop, the architects of a new kind of success story. Their wealth, their parties, their influence, it was all part of the myth. But what happens when that myth starts to crumble? What happens when the stories of excess and indulgence are no longer seen as glamorous but as evidence of something darker? The same culture that once idolized these men is now turning on them, and the shift is as dramatic as it is overdue.
I was sleeping, and my boyfriend tapped me and said, "Mary, Shy's on the phone telling us that Aaliyah just got."
The legal implications are staggering. Diddy's ongoing trial is being described as a watershed moment, not just for him, but for the entire industry. Prosecutors have painted a picture of a man who used his empire as a personal playground, exploiting his wealth and influence to manipulate those around him. The charges against him are severe, and if convicted, he could face a lifetime behind bars. But beyond the courtroom, the ripple effects are already being felt. Other high-profile figures are scrambling to distance themselves, issuing carefully worded statements, or, in some cases, saying nothing at all. The silence is deafening and telling. Jay-Z's situation is more complicated. While he hasn't been officially charged with any wrongdoing, the allegations and implications are enough to cast a shadow over his legacy. His close ties to Diddy and his presence at those now infamous parties have raised questions that he has yet to answer. And then there's the matter of Beyonce, whose reputation as a cultural icon has also come under scrutiny. The couple has built their brand on the idea of empowerment and excellence, but the whispers of complicity are growing louder. Did they know? Did they turn a blind eye? Or worse, were they active participants in a system that exploited the very people they claimed to uplift?
Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not.
The conspiracy theories, while often outlandish, speak to a deeper truth. People are desperate for answers. The public wants to know how this could have happened, how so many people could have been complicit, and why it took so long for the truth to come out. Theories linking Diddy and Jay-Z to past tragedies may lack concrete evidence, but they reflect a growing mistrust of the powerful and a willingness to question the narratives we've been fed for years. In an era where social media can amplify even the faintest whisper, the court of public opinion has become as influential as the actual courtroom. But the most damning revelations may yet be to come. Insiders are starting to break their silence, sharing stories that paint a damning picture of an industry rife with exploitation and abuse. Former employees, ex-associates, and even longtime collaborators are coming forward, describing a culture of fear and loyalty that kept them from speaking out. It's a story of power dynamics, where those at the top were untouchable, and those at the bottom were disposable. It's a system that rewarded silence and punished dissent, and it's finally being exposed for what it is.
The question is he a criminal? Is he basically akin to a mob boss running several criminal enterprises? And while it's very clear to me he is a depraved, disgusting person, we have to prove that he violated the law.
And what about the victims? For years, they've been silenced, dismissed, or ignored. But now, their voices are finally being heard. The lawsuits, the testimonies, the interviews, they're not just about seeking justice for what happened. They're about reclaiming agency, about forcing the industry to confront its own complicity. These are people who were promised the world and given nightmares instead, and their courage in coming forward is forcing a reckoning that the industry can no longer avoid.
By the way, wasn't this all around the time when Aaliyah died?
Yeah.
And Beyonce's solo career was struggling?
The entertainment world is at a crossroads. The allegations against Diddy and the scrutiny around Jay-Z are just the beginning. This isn't just about individual accountability. It's about dismantling a culture of silence and rebuilding an industry that doesn't tolerate abuse or exploitation. It's about holding the powerful to the same standards as everyone else and ensuring that the next generation of artists doesn't have to navigate the same minefields. The question is whether the industry is ready for that kind of change, or whether it will double down on its efforts to protect the status quo.
And now removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law. But if true, it could rise to the level of criminality. And, we'll see what happens or if the DA looks and investigates.
As the trial continues and more details come to light, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. The revelations are only getting more shocking, the stakes more dire, and the consequences more far-reaching. The entertainment industry is facing a reckoning unlike anything it's seen before, and no one, not even its biggest stars, is safe. Where does this leave Diddy, Jay-Z, and everyone else caught in the crossfire? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The world is watching. What do you think? Are we finally seeing the beginning of true accountability in the entertainment industry, or is this just another scandal that will be swept under the rug? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.